Ash vs. Evil Dead, Episode 8, Ashes to Ashes. I think this has to be my favorite episode so far. It was just basically just full of craziness. I mean, we have the cabin back, we get great callbacks to the first two films, and it was just nuts. And we actually lost a character, which honestly was like the last thing I was expecting for this episode. I didn't think they would have killed anyone off. I didn't expect to have it where by the time we end this, it would still end up being Ash, Pablo, and Kelly. I really thought Amanda was going to be like the fourth person to the group. And so it really sucks to lose that character. I really liked her as a character. And it was very surprising. I thought for sure that she was going to escape. I didn't think, she chops the hand off and everything. I knew it was still going to be an evil clone of Ash, but I wasn't expecting it to actually get her. I thought for sure it would be like, oh, we're struggling, it's suspenseful and stuff, and she gets out. But as soon as he did it, basically he got the knife and he stabbed her, and that was the end. And that really surprised me. It sucked to see that happen because, like I said, I really liked her character, and I thought she had an interesting role in the series because it was kind of like her and Kelly both kind of had the concept of revenge, but for Amanda as a cop, it started off as I need to chase down Ash because she thought he was responsible, and then it became more about stopping things, and with Kelly, it's still straight up revenge more than anything else. So they had sort of similar paths, but they were different enough to where I was like, okay, I still want to see what happens with both these characters. So it really sucks to see Amanda get killed off in this episode. And I think, like, the whole time, I was wondering what was going to happen just throughout this episode. Every time someone was shown, I was like, are they going to turn into a Deadite? Are they even real? Like, when Amanda first showed up, I was like, is she even real? Like, is this going to be a Deadite version of her? When they showed Pablo and Kelly walking through the forest and they met those three people, I was like, are they going to be real? Are they Deadites? So I just kept wondering, like, what in the world is going to happen, in this episode? What are we going to see? And basically, we got the really sped up version of the first two films and like some sort of mixed around stuff from like the second movie. Like, obviously it was more than just Ash's hand, it was a full clone of him, so it took it to a much different level, and it was attacking somebody else. So we got some really great references. We got to see Ash in the shack again with his girlfriend, and they basically redo that entire scene from the movie, which I thought was actually kind of awesome because he lived through it, so it's not like, oh, they're just redoing that scene. It's like he lived through that scene, and now it's like he's living through it all over again. So, like, he's kind of experiencing it just as we are, except, for us it's awesome. For him, it really sucks. But I thought that was kind of cool, and I'm pretty sure that was the actual woman. It looked like her. But it was really awesome. Like, he goes through, the first time we see it, it's actually just her skull, and it's still there with, like, the hole in it from when he used the chainsaw. And they do the shot of where the chainsaw is supposed to be and stuff like they did in the movie. And I was like, this is really cool. So I loved all of that and him just struggling and dealing with you kind of being trapped in that room. He lost his hand again because of the bear trap, which I thought was really funny. Like, the blades flying off. I was like, oh, that's really menacing. And then, like, the bear trap is just, like, jumping at him. I was like, that just looks really funny to me. But he loses his hand again, so he's back to full-on, boomstick and chainsaw. And other than that, it was really about Amanda and her dealing with just all this craziness. Like, just going through, it's like references over and over again. It starts off with, the deer falling off, which I didn't see as foreshadowing, but it was pretty good foreshadowing. I didn't expect that to happen. And of course, she does die the same way that her partner died. But, it starts off with the deer on the wall, and then she has, like, the recording is playing, the book, like, the book, or whatever, like, desk that the book was on, that breaks down, which initially I just thought the book was moving on its own for a second, but things were just getting really crazy, and it was like references to the old movies. The recording was playing, which I knew that was going to end up being bad. Then she found, I guess, notes, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't expect her to find, basically is like, a secondary version of the Necronomicon, and it's just like notes about everything. And we actually get an explanation for the blade, which I thought was pretty cool. So the blade is similar to the book where it's, a part of a human. It's a human bone. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I can't remember exactly what they said would happen with the blade and the book together. So I have to like go back and rewatch that because for some reason I can't remember. It's so quick, and then all I could think of, honestly, when she was reading over it, I stopped paying attention because I saw Ash in the background. And once again, the first thing I thought was like, is that gonna really be Ash or is that a fake version? And then he started talking. I was like, oh, this is gonna be fake Ash. And the hand growing a new Ash, I thought was pretty crazy because it starts off, it's crawling in the behind the wall, and then it basically has a whole arm, and then it stops, and an eye pops out, and so I guess it's just being in the cabin, it's just like an area of so much power for Deadites that it allowed the hand to actually grow back, which I thought was insane, but very awesome. And so he has to, kind of deal with himself by the end of the episode. Like Ash has to fight himself, and it was just a really good one. It was, like of course very surprising that we actually did lose a character, and I thought for sure that she was gonna survive. I thought it's gonna be really crazy, but I thought she was gonna make it out of there. And I thought even when she got stabbed, I was like, okay, real hard to survive that, especially how hard he actually seemed to hit her. I was like, okay, really slim chance, but somewhat possible. Like she could possibly somehow make it out of this. And then of course they do it where she falls on the deer antlers, and then that was kind of game over. I was like, well, there's no way out of this. And even then I was kind of hoping, I was like, I kind of hope this is somehow all being put into her head, but of course it ended up being real, and she actually does end up dying. And the weird thing about when she fell, it seemed like she kind of just stopped and dropped straight down. It seemed like she was kind of pulled towards it in her weakened state. Like that's how it looked, because she was kind of moving, and then it seemed like she just went like and got really stiff and then fell straight back. So it seemed like maybe she was actually pulled, towards the deer antlers, and it was kind of just, them being in the forest. It was, even in the beginning of the episode when Ash picked up that bird, it showed that it's kind of just an area effect. It's just an area of demonic power. And that was another crazy moment when he picked up that bird and it said Ash, and he threw it. It kind of grossed me out because I wasn't expecting the bird to actually like explode on that tree. But when it did, it was just like, I was like, oh, that's gross. And it was funny saying like that's gross compared to some of the other stuff we've seen. But I think it was because it surprised me. I was like, oh crap, that was pretty gross. But that was like nothing compared to some of the other fight scenes we've had. But it caught me off guard, so I was like, crap, that was pretty nasty. And it just went and just exploded on that tree. But that was an important scene. It does show how things just die. Like it's just, even after all this time, the Deadite power basically is still there. Like once it was summoned, it kind of never went away. No matter what happened, 2 movies, Ash getting sent back in time for the 3rd movie, none of that mattered. It's still there. It's the cabin, and it's just a place of death, basically, like just death and demonic power. And I love the way the cabin looked in this episode. I thought it was pretty cool how they did the whole set and how they made it up again. I'm pretty sure in the first 2 movies it was an actual cabin. I'm almost 100% sure in this they just remade it, just to kind of redo it. And I mostly said that because of how the sun looked, because it looked like a light coming from behind the cabin, but it still looked really cool, so I liked the way that they set it up. And if that was real, which I just don't think it was, then that was some crazy lighting, because just the way it looked, it was almost too much of a glow. It was almost like the sun, was like right behind it. But I liked the way that looked. It gave it a really weird look because, it wasn't exactly an authentic look, but I think that's kind of what they were going for, because it definitely made it stand out a lot with this, really decrepit cabin and everything, and this sort of just like immense golden light just right behind it. It seemed like the light was literally right behind the cabin and just went out that way. But it looked good the way that they had it, and then it actually does get darker and darker. And I love that first scene where Ash walks up to the cabin and they have it like zoomed in on his foot, and like the little bench is swinging and stuff, and it creaks under his foot, and then the bench just stops, and it's just complete silence and everything. And then of course, that's when Amanda shows up, and I was like, that can't be Amanda, but they found him really fast, and they don't explain that either. They kind of just found him. So I'm still wondering about that a little bit, which probably won't get explained because it's such a minor thing. But they didn't know where he was. They didn't know where the cabin was, like whatsoever. So I don't know how they trailed him. We don't see what they ended up driving in or anything like that. I'm sure they just got a truck, but it was kind of weird. It was just like they ended up there really fast. So I was kind of surprised because he had just gotten there. Although it kind of makes sense that they'd be able to find him and just, because he disappeared in like a couple of seconds. It does make sense that if he took off, they'd be able to get a truck and just follow him, even if they were a little bit behind. But they didn't say that, so it's just one of those things where you kind of have to, just make it up on your own. But that makes sense because it didn't make sense that he even vanished, in the end of the last episode, really. But they found him pretty fast, and then based on the trailer, we're gonna see those three people again. Apparently, the guy gets his head chopped off because I'm pretty sure Ruby was holding his head, and she was talking about how every time Ash is around, people die again. So he doesn't make it. Who knows about his wife? And then there's the woman that kind of was interested in Pablo, which of course led to an interesting moment where Kelly says that he has a girlfriend, which of course she knows that he doesn't. So it kind of helps show that she has feelings for him a little bit, that she didn't want him to end up with somebody else. So I thought that was interesting that they actually put that in there, because it did seem like Kelly had like literally zero interest, to be totally honest. It was like, yeah, she likes him as a friend and stuff like that. So I didn't know if that would ever go beyond that until he did something, really extreme. But apparently she does still, or she does actually have feelings for him. So I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty interesting, and we'll see what happens. I mean, apparently the guy gets killed. I don't know. I highly doubt that it was Ruby that did it, unless he turned into a Deadite, maybe. But we still kind of have to see what happened with Ruby as well, because I don't really know what's going to happen there. I thought we were going to get a full-on explanation when she was going through, and I think we were kind of getting towards that explanation before Amanda realized that someone was behind her. I think they were kind of getting to the explanation as to how it might make the Wilder very powerful or something like that. So we might officially get that answer in the next episode, but who knows what's going on with Ruby. I mean, she seemed like it was still her, although we don't technically know too much about it. She was working with the Deadites, then she betrayed the Deadites, and now she came back from like a full-on, campfire explosion. So I don't know what's going on with her character, but I'm looking forward to getting a full answer on that, because I want to know what's going on with her. Like, I don't know if she's... I just don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Like, how many times has she, technically died and just come back to life? Why was she able to come back to life? Because if it was the Deadites before, that would make sense. But at this point, now that they know she betrayed them, it wouldn't have been the Deadite power that brought her back, unless it's something inside of that weapon, or her just being the owner of it allows her to come back, or something crazy like that. I don't know. But it was really cool. So, looking forward to seeing her come back. It sucks that those three campers are just, they're just going to end up getting killed off. I'm pretty sure all three of them probably won't make it. They already showed that the guy died. I think Pablo's going to try to rescue the girl that has a bit of a crush on him. I just don't know if it's going to work, though. I think it's because it's Evil Dead. They're gonna keep that main cast. Like, I don't know if we're gonna see anyone else surviving or anything like that. Headlamp guy's gone. Midriff lady, she's probably not gonna make it. And then we have like the other woman, the blonde-haired woman. So who knows what's gonna happen? The woman with midriff, by the way, I thought she was insanely attractive. Just to throw that out there, I thought I couldn't stop staring at her when I was watching this episode. I was like, man, she's like really attractive, and it wasn't just because I could see her stomach. She just looked really pretty to me. But she's probably gonna be dead, so I don't think it matters. I think with how things are going, we still have 2 more episodes, so I don't know what to really expect. We still have the other Ash, which their fight scene was really funny, and they were talking about like, oh, you got a trick knee. When he first hit him, he's like, oh, my trick knee. That just sounded really funny. It just sounded like something that was made up, because it was just like he was like, oh, my trick knee, and then he's like, we got. I don't know how your spleen can be so messed up that if you get punched in it, it hurts even worse. I've never heard of that before, but I guess if you drink so much you go past your liver to your spleen. I don't know, but that was pretty interesting. And then of course Ash being like, we got softballs, and then he kicks him. That was really funny, but I don't really know what to expect with that. We got Ash versus Ash. Also, confusing thing about that scene, Pablo and Kelly were in the cabin, and Ash went like down the hall, and they did like a full 2 minute fight scene, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like they didn't show up at all. It was like, that was it. It was just like Ash versus Ash, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like Pablo and Kelly are down the hallway, like nothing happened. They can hear what's going on, and I thought they would have seen the other Ash, the clone Ash hit the real Ash. And I was like, okay, they're gonna come in, and then they're gonna do the scene where they get confused and stuff, and that didn't happen. They basically end the fight. The end of the episode is the end of the fight where they like choke each other out, and then nothing happened. And I was like, where in the world? What were Pablo and Kelly doing during that scene that they didn't hear all this commotion in this empty cabin where nothing else is happening, in this empty forest where nothing else is happening? So that kind of bugged me just a little bit. That's something, just every once in a while things like that happen in TV shows, and it's like they're right there. They should be able to hear exactly what's happening. So that bugged me just like a tiny bit. But we did get a cool fight scene, so I'm glad that it kept going, because it got funnier and funnier. And we might get the scene where they don't know which Ash is the real Ash in the next episode, since they're both going to be passed out. But I'm looking forward to it. We only have 2 more episodes. I don't even know what to think they're going to do for the season finale, because this isn't like a mini series type of deal, so they can't officially stop the Deadites. I mean, I guess they could, but it would just end up being temporary come season 2. But I don't really know what to expect. And then Ruby basically still wants revenge on Ash, because she still kind of blames him for her family dying. So there's still that aspect of it where they're going to end up being enemies. I thought they would, and I had this prediction, I think in like the first episode, I thought they were going to meet up, and then they'd have their confrontation, and then they'd realize neither of them are actually bad, but they'd still be enemies, because Ruby would be like, alright, I'm the one that's going to take care of this because you're an idiot, or something like that. But they never really met up, so they aren't going to, if they even meet up. I mean, she's in the forest in the next episode, but they could still save it for the finale, where that's when they finally meet. And then who knows what happens, because they won't have, to be the last episode. They aren't going to go through like, oh, that's totally a mistake, this is what really happened, and all this. So who knows what's going to happen with Ruby when she finally gets to confront Ash. And she might get a revenge. If they don't kill the clone Ash, she might get to kill him, and then she'll be fine as far as her revenge goes, and then she'll be able to talk it out with the other Ash, and that way she killed the evil one, and she got to have the conversation portion with the real one. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. Of course, though, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about us losing Amanda. I want to know what you guys thought about us losing Amanda in this episode, because for me, it was a huge surprise. Like I said, even with the crazy, the cleaver thing, which was a really silly line. It's like, that's what, that's what I call cleavage. Really silly, but it was just shocking. I didn't expect any of the main characters to actually get killed off during this first season. I thought everyone was going to live on, until season 2 at least. I hadn't even really thought about how long they might live, but I thought for sure everyone was going to survive this first season, and that's been thrown out the window now. I'm sure, Ash, Pablo, and Kelly are fine. Who knows about Ruby? I honestly can't tell if she's going to end up being like a main villain or something in the next season. I just don't know based on her character yet. I'm still a little confused, but sucks to see a good character get killed off. I feel like she didn't really get enough time with the team either. It was like, her time alone and with Ruby was like, I have to get to Ash, I have to figure out, why he did this and get revenge for my partner and get him arrested and prove that he's the one that caused all these problems. And then when she found out the truth and she joined the team, once that happened, it almost seemed like it was pretty much just, sort of the silly love relationship stuff with her and Ash. There was really no real conversation about it. Like, they kind of did it in this episode, but they still didn't really talk too much about it when she saw the deer and was thinking about her partner. And I kind of wish they did that. I wish they spent more time after she joined the team, with her talking about her past and her very recent past, really, and just getting thrown right into it, just like Pablo and Kelly, and kind of having those sort of real serious moments. But I feel like she never really did. So that's like the most unfortunate thing, I think, outside of just losing her in general. That's like my number two, is that I feel like she didn't get enough time with the team, um, where she really got to have like personal moments and talk about it with the other main characters. It was basically the last episode was her and Ash, and then this episode was the exact same thing, and then she died, and that was pretty much it. So that kind of sucked. I wish she did have definitely more of an opportunity to be with the other characters, mostly Pablo and Kelly. But even in general with Ash, I wish she had more of a moment to, or more moments to really talk things out with him and really kind of dive into some of the crazier aspects. And they did do that a little bit in the last one, but like I said, it's only 2 episodes of her with the team, and then basically both episodes for the most part her and Ash together, and then in this one it wasn't even the real Ash. So that, I think, was probably the only real missed opportunity as far as killing her character off, and obviously all the future stuff that isn't going to happen now because she died. But definitely want to know what you guys think about her death, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.